Right now, the Habitat for Humanity has called on the government to ensure creation of at least 50,000 decent and affordable housing units for low-income households in rural Kenya in the next 5 years. This would account for 10% of the 500,000 houses pledged by President Uhuru Kenyatta during his inauguration for a second term.
Almost 1,500 substandard houses are built in rural Kenya each week, mostly made of wood or mud. This compounds the housing problem for close to 20 million Kenyans living below the poverty line. According to Habitat for Humanity organization, so far much of the attention on housing is exclusively focused on urban dwellings, while rural housing needs have been almost totally ignored.
Our focus is on the bottom of the pyramid, what we call the economically able poor, and we are on housing sector. We focus on ensuring that each and everyone has access to decent, affordable housing.
Habitat says it has identified 3 key challenges to home ownership in Kenya as shortage of quality housing units, affordability and access to own land.
We do construction of new houses, we do renovations of houses, we repair houses, we make home improvements, directly partnering with communities. On top of that, we work with the market players to be able to develop products with financial service providers.
In sub-Saharan Africa, the shortage of financing for housing is acute. Banks generally ignore housing finance as the perceived risk and costs outweigh benefits.
This past year, some of that trend is changing, and we've been participated in, you may have heard, the Sustainable Development Goals facilitated by the UN, that housing, as part of the need to address the urban issue worldwide, housing is specifically identified as a goal. I believe it's goal number 11. And by the year 2030, the idea is that all will have access to adequate, safe, and affordable housing.
Lack of well-structured financial and mortgage markets continue limiting property rights and ways of financing shelter in the region.
Development of low-cost houses requires special attention in this country, where the bulk of housing units in Kenya is delivered by the private sector and individuals. The private sector tends to concentrate on the middle and high end of the market, leaving the low-income population, which is the majority, unattended. There is need to therefore correct this trend so that informal and non-salaried citizens in both rural and urban areas are catered for.
However, there should be collaborative efforts between the government and the private sector and communities to address the existing challenges and improve access to affordable housing.
Now, yesterday the world marked World Human Rights Day, and obviously this just brought into the spotlight the need for the world to recognize the importance of promoting the universal values that are human rights. Take a look at this. Right. Okay. Do you think that enough is being done in Kenya for the advancement of human rights?
In Kenya, okay, the civil society, the NGOs and other stuff, they've really tried. But to some extent, we also have somewhere that we need also to talk about, and this is the police. They also need to come and realize that they are civil servants. They are not a force. So that if they're dealing with civilians, these civilians are the people who actually get to work with the police. Police can't get information on their own. So when we reach to an extent whereby now we actually violate the rights of Kenyans in the name of a force, then we need to get back and ask ourselves, why do you think to an extent that Kenyans can celebrate when a police officer dies? Then that means we have to take notes. There is somewhere along the line that something is wrong. Absolutely. And if somebody feels that is oppressed to that extent, human beings are human beings. Police officers are just in uniform. But if you can get to that level that now a Kenyan can feel that if a police officer dies or a military dies, then they don't feel anything, they can celebrate, then I think the government needs to take something. And even the intelligence. The intelligence community now needs to understand and get back to the drawing board and ask themselves, you cannot work without the civilian population. The civilian population are the people who actually get the information they can give, and immediately you work with the community policing. They will always understand that most of the information comes from the civilian population. So if we try to always brutalize them, if we try to kill them, this extrajudicial killing, we need now to talk about it, because the human rights starts from when we violate them. So I think other given sectors are really trying very hard so that we don't actually violate it. But to some extent, we now get back to our police officers and we say professionalism needs to be actually implicated within the police force.
Bob?
Kenya has really tried in terms of human rights, in the sense that we have so many NGOs on board, and I also worked with an NGO before, with AMREF. And I can say, you know, human rights is very comprehensive. What pertains to human rights? I'll take you guys back to an article called UN Declaration of Human Rights that talks about some sections, talks about every human being has a right to self-determination and also access to resources, basic human rights, basic needs, secondary ones, you know, and all that. So I can say, I categorized it, you can categorize it in terms of, there's slave trade, there's also FGM, there's also abortion, and also basic needs, health, and social justice. Now, you see, these are the challenges which have been affecting Kenya. Like, for example, in Northern Africa, we've been having cases in Libya, Liberia, whereby Africans are being taken to France as slave trade, you see. So do we have a policy as African countries to try and cut out those issues of slave trade? That's a thought. FGM, we've really tried in Kenya. We've been able to sort out those FGM, and personally, I'm also a champion against FGM, you know. And then, but you see, with FGM, some of these things are retrogressive cultural beliefs that, you know, like some of the communities, they believe that a lady has to be circumcised in order for her to become a mother. It's like a rite of passage, you know, which is very wrong. Then the other thing is health. You know, health. For me, I can say health needs to be a basic needs. It has to be a basic need. Why? In the sense that if you know, health is very comprehensive. We have human diet. We also have lifestyle eating. We also have sanitation. We also have a way on how you do things, and on how your environment, if your hygiene, it comprises of health. So if all those things are poor, then it means your health is down. Then the other thing is social justice. Social justice is very, 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 very key. And what my colleague has said, has talked about police brutality. You see, these are issues that we people face, and if we don't speak it out, it's going to come out bad. Right. But at the same time, human rights is very comprehensive. Okay. So we need to seriously focus on that.